In this video, I'll be showing you step by step the fastest way to connect your custom GPTs to Instagram to completely automate your DMs. I'm making this video today because Instagram can be an incredibly powerful sales channel when used right, and by connecting your GPTs to Instagram, you can completely automate key tasks like customer support and lead generation for your business or for your clients. The issue is that connecting AI assistants to Instagram DMs can be an extremely painful process and something that I've had constant issues with over the past couple of months. So I wanted to create a video to walk you through the easiest method that I've found so that you can get things set up and avoid the mistakes that I've made. At this point in the video, I would normally give you a big explanation of what we're building, but I think it's easier if I just show you the finished product. So we're going to get a live demo here of exactly what we're building. In this case, I'm using the testing keyword. It's going to trigger the automation that I've set up within ManyChat, which you'll see in a second. So in this case, I've got some stories up of me in Dubai. If you're not already following my Instagram, it's going to be available somewhere here. You get to see a bit the behind the scenes of my life and some of the stuff I get up to off camera. But in this case, I've got some stories up and I can reply to it of testing. And it's going to trigger the automation. And you should see it pop up at the top. There we go. So it says, hey Liam, what would you like to know about the accelerator? In this case, it's pulling the first name from my account. So if your name was Sandy or Smith, it would be using that name as the first name. But because this account name is Liam, it's going to use Liam. What would you like to know about the accelerator? We'll be happy to help. Who is the owner? So we can start asking some questions. In this case, it's going to be taking the question that I send there. It's going to be sending it to ManyChat, and then ManyChat is going to be talking to our Replit backend, which you're going to see all the code in a second, and I've templated it all. So you can just copy it and follow the steps I'm about to show you, and then you'll be able to get it up and running. So in this case, it's come back. The owner of the AAA Accelerator program is Liam Ottley. It's designed to help individuals establish a profitable and scalable AI business in 90 days. Is there any specific information you'd like to know about the program? How much do the plans cost? The AAA Accelerator offers 2 membership tiers, standard plan, which is $97 monthly, premium plan, which is $197, which is currently sold out. And so I can keep asking it questions about the program. I can ask it what are all the benefits, what do I get out of it, etc. What are the benefits on the standard plan for $97? What do I get? You get access to over 15 live workshops a month. You get 24 assistants from AI Liam. You get exclusive tools, accountability groups, vets community, templates, all the good stuff. So what we can say now is to try and initiate the lead capture. If I say, I'd like to join. It's great to hear. I'll need your full name and phone number, including your country code to get started. So this is going for the lead capture now. I can say my name is Bruce Wayne, plus 971527788. There we go. I can send that information. It's going to pull out the name and it's going to pull out the phone number and it's going to send that off to Airtable to log that lead so that our sales team can follow up with them. So that's the build. That's what we're going to be creating here. You can easily modify this by changing out the knowledge base, as you'll see in the steps that are coming in a second. And you can also change the CRM from Airtable to whatever you want, but you'll be able to take the template, modify it as you need, and I'll be walking you through step by step. The most valuable part of this is going to be the ManyChat template that I'm going to give you, which took me like an entire day to create because there's so many issues that I have with it due to timeouts and stuff like this, which we'll go into in a sec. We have a ton of stuff to get through, so let's get into it. To achieve the functionality that we just saw, we're going to need, of course, the Assistants API from OpenAI. We're going to need a Replit to host that code. Then we're going to call our Replit code from ManyChat. And I will mention it again if you haven't seen any of my other videos, but we have the two sort of sides of this GPTs release, which is firstly the GPTs on the ChatGPT site, where you can create them and sort of go through them and use them on the browser and things like this. And then we have the Assistants API, which is really the meat and potatoes and how this thing is going to be used and rolled out to businesses and to real world applications. So while GPTs are fun and all, and they're cool to create around and sort of share around with people, most of the value is going to be created with this Assistants API so that you can deploy your GPTs and your setups essentially to different channels. In this case, we're going for an Instagram deployment and using the GPT technology for that. On my prior videos, we've done website deployment. So if you want to check out how to put these on a website rather than on Instagram, you can do the exact same process, but put it onto a website watching the video that's up here. I've got a couple of them now, but this is the best one to start with. Okay, so to get started with this build, you first need to get access to my Replit. As always, this is going to be available in the first link in the description. You can go to my resource hub, sign up for free, and it's going to be at the bottom of the list in the left panel. You can click on it, there'll be a link that'll take you to this Replit, and you should be greeted with a screen like this. First step is to go to the fork button on the right. We can click fork here, and we can call it, I'm just going to put a fork at the end, and then I can fork this REPL. Give it a second to boot up. Then you should be greeted with something like this. For those of you who don't know how to code, don't freak out. You don't need to change any of this really, and there's only a couple parts that I'll walk you through the process of, and that's mainly around API keys. So I built this in a way that it's all ready to go out of the box. I'll just take you through a bit of a breakdown of how this is different from some of my other tutorials and the way that I've had to modify this so that it works with the Instagram deployment. This actually took me quite a while to get working because there's limitations of ManyChat, which I'll go into later. But we can start off with a breakdown of the main.py file, which is where all the action is happening when we're actually interacting with this application. Similar to the other builds that I've done, firstly we have the /start endpoint, which is going to start the conversation. Whenever we start a conversation within ManyChat, a new person interacts with my story, they hit that trigger. It's going to call this endpoint the /start, and it's going to create a new thread. We're going to give that thread back to our ManyChat application. So here we are giving the thread ID back. And then when the user actually asks their question, it's going to be sent to this chat endpoint. And that chat endpoint is going to grab the thread ID and the message. Then it's going to start a run, what's called a run in the new OpenAI documentation and the way that they've set up the Assistance API. So you have what's called a run. And in this particular build, we have split the chat endpoint between this chat one and then the second one called check. Now the reason we've done that is because of the timeout on ManyChat is 10 seconds. And when I was testing this before, I wasn't able to get responses on ManyChat because it was running over that 10-second timeout when I was making the API call. So we've had to split it into these two different parts. This chat endpoint is just going to create the run and sort of send our information and what we need to do up to the OpenAI servers. And it's going to be like, okay, that's what we want. Now give us a couple seconds and we'll wait for it to come back. And the way that we actually grab the response from that endpoint, and we've called the OpenAI API to give us our response, then we go down to this check endpoint. We're going to be periodically checking in to see if our process, our operation has been completed, and if it has been completed, then we can pluck it out and send it back to the user. So it might sound a bit complicated, but in this case, it's going to make a lot more sense when we get into the ManyChat side of things, so bear with me. Next, I'll take you through the functions.py file. This is where a lot of the core functionality is happening. In this case, we have the lead capture. So this is an Airtable lead capture. We are going to be replacing this URL with a new one as you set it up on your end. We also have API keys, which we'll be setting up in a second. This is the logic for creating a new lead in the Airtable, as I mentioned. And this is the create assistant function, which is really the main bit that you need to wrap your head around before going out and trying this on your own. So the create assistant function is because when you're trying to create a new GPT programmatically, in this case, we're not using the GPT builder, we are creating our own programmatically. We need to give the instructions or the ingredients to the OpenAI API to create our new assistant. So in this case, we have, of course, the knowledge component, which is going to be a document here on the left called knowledge.docx. Then we have the instructions, which are going to be in the prompts.py file, which I'll show you in a second. Then we have the functions, which is set up here. So I'll show you how to change each of these around so that you can modify this so that you can create your own GPTs for your own use case. So in this case, we have the file here, which is going to be the knowledge base document. If you want to change the knowledge base to your own document, you need to delete the knowledge base document on the left here, and then click upload file here, upload a new file. And then you need to change the name of this file here from knowledge.docx to whatever it is in the left panel. So the name here should match the name of the document on the left-hand panel. Next, if you want to change the prompting or the instructions for your GPT, it's going to be stored in this variable here. So the assistant instructions is imported from our prompts.py file, which is over on the left here. So if you want to change the prompting or the instructions for your GPT, click on the prompts.py file on the left. I've taken this out because it doesn't look very clean to have this massive amount of text sort of stuffed into your functions.py file. So I've moved it out to here, so you can go in and modify this as you like. And any changes that you make here are going to be automatically pulled in to this create assistant function when you create it. To reiterate, we have the knowledge component here, which we can change. We have the prompting component here, which we can change via the prompts.py file. And then finally, we have the tools section. Now the tools, in order to be able to use, I should have mentioned this in some of my other videos, so thank you for those of you who pointed it out. But the model here that we're calling the GPT-4 preview, you actually need to have a card put on your OpenAI account, and you need to add some credit to your account. If you haven't yet done that, you're going to need that, which I'll show you in a sec. But in order to be able to access this new model, which is able to use GPT, the much larger GPT-4, which is faster and better in a number of ways, we'll need to do that step. So just to be clear, some of you had issues with that last time. That is the reason why, and I'm going to be showing you in a second how to fix that. So when it comes to tools, this is the more difficult part to change around, I will be completely honest. But just to walk you through it, firstly, we have the retrieval tool here. This is the knowledge base. As you can see, I put a lot of comments throughout all this document. So if you get stuck, you have a question about something not working, or you want to know how to modify things, take a look at these green comments and you'll get a much better idea of how this application is set up. So we have the retrieval tool, which is the knowledge base. This needs to be on for it to be able to access that knowledge document. And then secondly, we have just one function here, which is the lead capture. The lead capture in this case is using the create lead function, which is up here. It's referencing that name. Then we get to the two parameters required to call this function. Firstly, we have the name, which is obviously the full name of the lead. And then we have the phone, which is the phone number of the lead, including the country code. It's important to know that to operate this application, when you have the three different ingredients, you have your knowledge base, your instructions, then these, and then the tooling here as well. When you go to create an assistant, when we run this app up here for the first time, it's going to look on this left panel and see if there's an assistant.json file. In this case, you can see that we don't have one. So it's going to follow this and say, okay, if there is an assistant.json file, let's load that. But if there is not, then let's go through the creation process and then create a new file down here. So this is our way of not duplicating and making a ton of different assistants when we don't need it. You're going to be charged API usage by how many assistants that you have up, especially if you're putting a lot of knowledge in them. You get charged by the amount of storage that you're taking up with your documents as well. So in this case, it's only going to create a new assistant when there isn't one already in the side file. And this also means if you've already run the app once and you have a assistant.json file on the side panel here, if you want to modify the knowledge, the prompting, or the tools, then you need to delete that file and then run the app again, and it'll recreate your assistant.json file with a new set of settings. Okay, and with that orientation out of the way, we can get into modifying the very few parts of the code that we actually need to change in order for it to work on your system. Firstly, we have our OpenAI API key, pretty straightforward one. You can go to platform.openai.com. Then on the left panel here, you'll have an API key section, and you can click here and create a new secret key. It's going to pop up with a key that you can copy, and you can copy that. You can take it back over to Replit here. Then you need to go to the secret section down the bottom left. We can delete this Google Cloud API key because that's not needed for this one. But in this case, we have an OpenAI API key. You can edit this, and then you can paste yours in and then update the secret. And as I mentioned before, in order to make sure that you get access to these newer models that we need to make this app run, on the left-hand panel here, you can click on settings and then billing, and you can add a payment method, and then you can click on this buy credits button and put $5 to $10 in so that you have full access and permissions to use all of the latest models. Next, we need to set up our Airtable and get our Airtable API key. So in this case, you'll be going to the Resource Hub again, which is in the first link of the description. You can sign up to there. And then on the Resource Hub, there'll be a link to firstly sign up to Airtable if you haven't already. And there'll also be another link for you to be able to clone my Airtable base here. So when you click on that link, it should look like this. In this case, we have these two tabs here. This is just going to be the accelerator leads is what we're looking for. And you should have this button up here that says copy base. So when you click that, it should clone it over to your account and look a bit like this. So just to take you through quickly, we have the names of the leads, we have the phone numbers, and we have the questions and a status. So the main ones that we're going to be dealing with within this app are the name and the phone number. I'll talk a little bit more about these questions at the end once you see it live. Once you have this base created, we need to get our API key by going to the right panel here, clicking on this little profile icon, then going to the developer hub. Then you'll be on this page where you can create API key. So you can click create new token. You can call it Instagram lead gen bot. You can go to scopes and click write, and we'll give it read as well. And access, you need to scroll down to your Smith Solar CRM, and you can click the create token button, and it should pop up with an API key that you can copy. So you want to copy that and then head back to Replit. And in the same way we just did with the OpenAI key, you can click on the three dots to the right of your Airtable API key. And if you haven't found secrets, it's in the bottom left here. Click on that and this should appear. And you can edit again, copy all of this and paste, delete all of this and put your API key in instead and update the secret. And then one final thing that we need to do is go back to our Airtable developers page and then click on this web API documentation on the left. Then you need to scroll down to the bottom and click on the Smith Solar CRM. And then can click on the accelerator leads table and then click on create records. Then you need to take this URL here, copy all of that from HTTPS all the way to the end of leads, copy that, head back to Replit, and go to the create leads function in the functions.py file, and then just copy within, delete within the quotations there, and then paste in that URL. So mine's the same, so it doesn't need to change obviously, but yours will have changed a little bit with this little section here. And with all of those changes made, we are ready to run our application for the first time. We need to click this big green button up the top, and on the left-hand panel, you'll see that we'll get our assistant.json file created, because now it's going to create an entirely new assistant based off our settings inside our create assistant function. So the settings we have here with the knowledge base, with the prompting, and the tools, it's gonna sort of smush that all together and create this assistant.json file. And all it has in here is this. So yours will be a little bit different, but this is what we're going to be reloading it from. So if I stop it and restart it, it's going to this time read from this file and pull in that and save that as the variable in our main function. If all has gone well, you should see something similar to this in the bottom right corner. And you'll also see a web view that's popped up here saying not found. It's not an issue. We can click on this new tab button in the corner, and it's going to open up a new tab for us here. This is the URL that we're going to be calling within ManyChat to get access to all of the functionality that we have in our main.py file. So our start, chat, and check endpoints that we can access via ManyChat. With that all up and running correctly, now we can get onto the ManyChat side of things. I've created a template for you that you can just plug and play and change a couple URLs. So if you want to get access to that, again, you can sign up with the first link in the description. Then you can get access to the ManyChat template. And when you click on it, it should look like this when you get on screen. If you don't already have an account for ManyChat, you'll need to click on the sign up button. Then it'll allow you to log in with Facebook and you can go through the whole setup. In this case, you want to click on Instagram and go through the process. This can be a little bit tricky, so I've actually got a recommended tutorial from someone else. When I had a bunch of issues with getting this set up earlier today, it walked me through some of the basic setup for creating a Facebook page and linking it in the right way so that it works. So there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to Facebook pages and accounts and your profile and all these different things. So I don't want to try and drag this thing out to be 40 minutes long. So there's like a 3 or 4 minute tutorial where the guy explains it really well. That'll be linked down below. If you haven't got an account, I'd watch that so you can set up firstly your Facebook page and then connect that to your Instagram account so that everything's all tied up there. Then you can come back here all signed in and ready to go. Once you've signed into ManyChat, you can come back to this page and again click on Save to ManyChat, and it's going to this time load it into your account. So I can click on Save Flow here for the account that I've set up, View Flow. And just like that, you have imported the template that I spent hours working on today to get working for you all. So this is going to save you a ton of time. I'll walk through it briefly now and we'll be updating what we need to along the way to save time. Starting off, we have a trigger. If you're familiar with these automation platforms, you'll know that triggers are how things start off. In this case, we are using a story reply trigger that I have set up on the keyword testing. I'm actually going to change this to test 2, so you know that I'm actually testing the one that I've built in front of you. This is set up to be listening on all stories when a reply contains specific words or reaction. In this case, the test 2 word is going to be what it's looking for. If that trigger is hit, then it goes to the first step in our application, which is to create a thread. Creating a thread is the first step in our application, and this calls the /start. So this is creating a new thread under your assistant. That's essentially the start of a new conversation or a new bucket of chat history that we're going to be tracking the conversation for. In this case, we can grab our URL from the Replit not found page, copy this, head back to ManyChat, and we need to replace this URL up to the start point with our URL. So mine should just pop in fork there. Make sure you don't have 2 forward slashes like that. So it should just be your URL and then /start. If we go through here, not much you need to worry about here. We're saving the thread ID into a custom field called thread ID. Don't touch any of this here, just leave it with all the numbers included. By this point, we've created a thread. And now we can say, hey, first name, what would you like to know about the accelerator? I'd be happy to help. And then we are going to be listening for a response. So this is a free keyword input. So it's just waiting for them to send something through. And what we're doing is saving that to the variable called last reply, which is what we're going to send off to our next endpoint in order to start the process of generating a result. So we send that off to this first step, which is just a clear AI output field, just to make sure that the variable is empty. Don't need to worry about that too much. The key point is that after that, we go to the start run step. Now here we are doing the same thing with the URL. Again, you need to paste in your URL and have the entire URL and then /chat this time. So again, first one was start, this time it's chat, the next one will be check. And these correspond to the different endpoints that we've set up in our application. So the start creates a new thread, starts the conversation. The chat endpoint starts the run, sends off the information to OpenAI to start processing the answer. And then the final one, which we're about to see in a second, is what checks it and returns the answer. So going back to ManyChat, you can leave these as they are, but just to give you an idea, we are sending away to our chat endpoint to start the processing, the thread ID and the message from the user, which we are getting from earlier, where we created the thread ID. We've saved that and we're referencing it here. and the message, which we are pulling from the last reply that we just got from the user. We're sending that off, and what this returns to us is a run ID. Now this run ID is what we need to be able to check the status of the sort of order that we've sent off to OpenAI. Now that we have created the thread, we've got the user's input, we've sent that off and said, can you work on this for us? Now we can periodically check back in to see the status of that response, and we do that via our run ID. Run ID is already set up here. And then we pass that run ID to our final endpoint, which is of course the check endpoint, which is checking the status of the run. Make sure you have your URL here, /check. And in the body of this request, we are sending away the thread ID and the run ID to check the status of that run. And the response that we should be getting back here is the answer to the user's question. So this is the final output that we do present to the user and send within the Instagram DMs. And this part here is probably the most difficult bit to understand, but this is how we are allowing it to loop through. As I mentioned before, ManyChat has a 10-second cutoff, a timeout on the API request. So the issue I was having here is that when I was trying to create this earlier today, I kept running into this issue of it would answer the shorter questions, but then whenever I asked for a longer response, it would just completely blank and wouldn't send anything. And after a lot of searching around, I eventually figured out that there is a 10-second timeout on this. And unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that we do, particularly with function calling and knowledge bases, can take longer than 10 seconds to get back to us. The way that we get around this timeout is this conditional block here, in which if the check endpoint returns timeout, then we're going to loop back around and try it again. So if you look back at our code, we have this check endpoint here, and it has a timer of 9 seconds. So it's going to check the status of the run over and over and over again, which you'll see in the bottom right here in a second. It's going to be printing out run in progress, run in progress, run in progress, run in progress. And then when it's complete, it's going to send it off. But if the run is still in progress, and by the time it gets to the end of that 9 seconds, it's going to send back a timeout and say, hey, look, we've run out of time. And then we're going to try it again and check how much longer. So this will make more sense when you see it in action in a second, but it does work. And I'm very happy that I was able to get this working for you all. And then we have an error handling step where if the AI outputs some kind of error, we're just going to assign it to a human to handle the conversation. And the final part of this conditional check is that if there isn't a timeout, as in we don't have to keep waiting for a response, and there isn't an error, then we can go down and send the final AI output that we get back from the check endpoint, and we can send it to the user and await their next input. This final step here is printing out the AI output, and we're also at the same time expecting input from them and saving it to last reply. And with that last reply, we can loop right back up to here and then go through the whole process again of saying, okay, now we have a new user input. Let's firstly send it off to the chat endpoint, get that cooking away in the OpenAI service. Then we can check into it over and over and over again until it comes back as a complete response. I think that's enough talking. We are ready to get this thing tested. I just want to do one final check, and you guys should all make sure you do this, that we have updated the URLs for all of them. So Instagram, Accelerator, System 4, /start. Yep, that's correct. Go here, /chat. Yep, that's the second one. And then /check. Yep, we are all good to go here. Now I can click the update button here, and I'm ready to give it a test on the phone. We're on the phone here, and I can pull up my story, and I can say test 2, send that. We should get an automated message any second. Yep, there we go. Hey Liam, what would you like to know about the accelerator? Would be happy to help. What coaching do you offer? Now, I do want to pull up on the other side the Replit backend. So it's handy to watch it as I send this. We should see things pop up like it starts a thread, checking for status, in progress, in progress, in progress. So you can see the debug here. The way that I've set it up, it's going to be printing out and giving you updates very constantly on how things are. Oh, there we go. You can see here in the console that it's been checking for the status of the run, and it's been in progress, in progress, in progress. And when it gets to the end of that 9-second period, it goes, okay, I need to send a timeout response, and then we need to try loop back again and continue to check. In this case, it timed out once, then it started the next loop, and then immediately found that the response was ready, and then we sent it. In this case, we have it on our phone here, personalized assistance, regular one-on-ones, exclusive resources, etc. Great, and then we can try to get a lead capture going here. So I'm ready to start. And again, watching the console here, in progress, in progress, in progress, completed, and boom, it sends it through. Now we need a full name and phone. Peter Parker, like a jacket. And that should ask for my phone number as well. Sure, I'll give you my phone number. Now it should go for a lead capture here. requires action, action and process. Lead created successfully. Check and run status in progress, completed, and it sends it back. And now we should pull up our Airtable here. And we should have Peter Parker. There we go, we've got 2 of them. And that's the build. We can continue to ask questions here and going through and learning more about the product, but we have done the lead capture. I think will allow us to do another lead capture even, but in this case, we've gotten what we wanted out of it. They've been able to ask questions, make a decision, and we've captured the lead that we can send to the sales team and they can follow up on. There is this column here of questions that I was going to include, but I made it a little bit more complex. And I think ManyChat has already made this as complex as it needs to be. But this questions column was intended to be an additional field for the lead capture function, which can pull out of the thread, out of the transcript of the conversation. It can pull some of the questions that the user asked and add them to this field when you capture the lead, so that the salesperson can look at the questions column and go, okay, this person was worried about price, or this person was worried about the features or the team, etc. That's not something I've included in this build, but it is possible. If you guys want me to make a video breaking down how you can get all of the transcripts from your assistants, from say your Instagram deployments, from your website deployments, anywhere you want it, we can be pulling those and centralizing them somewhere. So if you want me to do a video on it, I have had some requests already, but please let me know in the comments below and I'll make sure I get that out as soon as possible. As I mentioned in my last video, this Replit application is not properly deployed. It's not production grade and production ready. This just allows you to spin it up and see how it works quickly. If you do want me to do a video breaking down how you can actually do a live production grade deployment of one of these applications using Replit or other services, also let me know in the comments because I can make that video too. If you've got this far, congratulations. This is definitely one of the tougher tutorials I've done, and there's definitely a lot more complexity that I've had to work into this to get it working on Instagram, which is just really the nature of the platform right now. So I hope you've been able to follow along and get as much out of this as possible. If you have enjoyed, please head down below and leave a like. I put a ton of work into this thing. It's actually been delayed a bit just by the amount of issues that I've had with trying to get a way that works for you guys as easy as possible. So I'm sure many of you are going to take this and be able to do some awesome stuff with it. I hope the use case is a little bit different from the solar one that I've talked about a lot. I wanted to show you how this can be used for more educational products or coaching offers and things like this, and not only handle questions and sort of customer support, but also go for lead capture and things like this to create a lead generation chatbot on Instagram using your GPTs technology. And of course, while you're down there, you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is kind of all we talk about on the channel: AI, business, how to sell AI solutions. So if you want to stay in the loop on how I'm attacking this GPTs opportunity and how you can best take advantage of it to make your business better or to sell better things to your clients, then be sure to subscribe to the channel because I have a ton of really cool stuff coming. I have a sort of mastery GPT development guide that takes you through all of this, and beyond just a little tutorial like this, it's really a comprehensive look at how you can master building these things so that you can really unlock the value of this new technology. If you don't want to miss that and any other future uploads, you can subscribe down below. But if you want to learn how to create your own AI automation agency and sell solutions just like this to businesses, then you can join the biggest community of AI agency owners in the world who are already moving on this opportunity. You can also join my free Telegram down below if you want daily updates on my learnings and the things that I'm doing with these GPTs and how I'm selling them as well. As always, all of the resources mentioned in this video will be available on my resource hub for you to download and steal and build and sell and do whatever you want to do with it. If you enjoyed this video and also want to know how you can put your GPTs on websites, you can check out this video here where I go into depth on it. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.